Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Masters in Performance. My name is Roel. I'm currently a student of sport and performance psychology at the University of Amsterdam. I've always been fascinated by how sports psychology can be applied not just in sports, but in other areas of performance like music and beyond. That curiosity has led me to create this podcast. Masters in Performance is all about exploring the professional journeys of alumni from the Sport and Performance Psychology program at the UvA. In each episode, we'll dive into the passion that sparked their interest in sports psychology, their experiences during the master program, and the paths they've taken since graduating. Whether you're someone considering this field, a freshly graduated student, or someone who's already working in sports psychology, this podcast is for you. It's meant to offer reassurance, showcase the diverse opportunities available, and share valuable insights from those who've walked the path before you. In this first episode, I'm thrilled to have a conversation with Ashley Oomen. Ashley began her academic journey with a bachelor's in psychology at the Utrecht University. After becoming a certified swimming teacher, she pursued her interest in sports psychology by joining the UvA master program in 2021. She interned at the Royal Netherlands Army, where she continues to work, focusing on optimizing military performance under pressure using mental skills. Additionally, Ashley is the co-owner of a swimming school, where she applies her expertise to guide children with social, emotional, or cognitive challenges through their swimming education. From my personal conversation with fellow students, I know how valuable it is to learn from the experiences of others. I'm excited to share different perspectives on what's possible in our field over the course of this podcast journey. My hope is that you'll come away from each episode with a sense of reassurance about your own journey and a refreshed vision of what's to come in your professional career. So without further ado, let's dive into our conversation with Ashley Oomen. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thanks for meeting me today. Now, we've actually met before at the presentation of the Post-Master, because you were the intern supervisor of a friend of mine.
Yes.
But just as an introductory question, say we didn't know each other, how would you introduce yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know my name. My name is Ashley, and I'm a sports and performance psychologist, and now a military performance psychologist, to say it correctly, in the Army. Besides, I'm a swimming teacher, and of course, I do sports myself as well. I was a very good gymnast at the time when I was younger. But as you see, and I think the listeners can't see, but I can tell them, I'm tall. I'm 1.90 m. So for me, it wasn't possible to keep on doing the sport. So I stopped doing gymnastics. And then I did dancing for a while. And after that, I went to the gym. I do sports myself. I went out for runs. So very active. I think that's kind of who I am.
Yeah. And on that path of sports, where did the interest of sports psychology begin?
I think in my past, when I was a child and I was a gymnast myself, I already had some struggles being a gymnast and, of course, quitting the sports because of my height. It was an external problem which I couldn't fix. So how do you deal with that? I think that's a sport psychology topic already, what I couldn't solve at the time. And also when I did the bachelor psychology in Utrecht, I loved the bachelor and I chose the direction child and adolescent psychology. And I also did an internship in that. So I worked with mostly children with problematics like ADHD, autism, but also mental and physical, how do you say that in English? Problems.
Yeah.
So I was their guidance and I helped them going through their daily life. But when I was doing that internship, I noticed, it is kind of heavy and also hard for the children, but also for me, because you see heavy things for the children. And also for me at that time, it was too much. And I was always looking at, okay, what's the positive side of all this and how can it be better? But some of these children couldn't get any better and would need guidance for the rest of their life. And I was like, I'm not sure if that's the direction I want to go in. I love to work with people who are already good and can perform even better, or are maybe not so good yet, but can improve. And when I was doing that internship, I was working with children who would need guidance all the rest of their life and would maybe not improve that much. And that didn't give me the, how do you say that?
Satisfaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. The satisfaction I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. Sports psychology is definitely a field where I think you can see the fruits of your labor. You can see the results that you are putting in.
Yeah. I was looking for that, and mostly the positive and optimistic side of psychology, and not so much the disorder side or what's wrong with someone. And no, I wanted to look at how can we improve and make things better. And I think that's what sports and performance psychology is. So those two things, long story short.
So in your childhood, during your own sports, and then later that's you were rather focused on the more positive side of sports or psychology.
Yeah, psychology at the time.
Yeah. And then what was your experiences during the master when you started? You started in 2021, I think? Was it during COVID?
Yeah, or just when COVID ended. So it was good we could go to the university again. I was thankful for that because the year before me, the students couldn't go to the campus. So I was so thankful that we could, because I think that's also the experience of a master, going to class and actually having contact with your fellow students.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was thankful that I could do that. Yeah, actually, I think my experience were quite good. Of course, the location in Amsterdam, I like that a lot. And it's an international master, so everything is in English, just like this podcast right now. And English is not my strongest point, so I was kind of not looking up to that. Am I going to succeed in this master? But yeah, once you start doing everything in English, it will follow and you will get through. So I think that went okay. And furthermore, the topics, the courses.
Yeah.
I think they were interesting and necessary, but I think most of them were mostly in sports psychology, while the master is sports and performance psychology. But it was actually not so much performance, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I suppose I'm maybe getting a bit ahead of myself with the military psychology, but was that already something in your mind back then of I want to focus on the other sides of performance psychology?
Good question. Yeah, it was. Of course, I was also interested in sport psychology because I had my own stuff from my childhood when I was a gymnast. But I was also interested in how does it work in other areas, mostly the army, police, and firemen.
Yeah.
How does it work for them? I was very interested in that kind of people or in that area. But I missed that a little. And if it was performance psychology, it was mostly in music or also dancing was also topics that were
performing arts.
Performing arts. Yeah, exactly. That side, but not so much the how do we say that, high risk jobs.
Yeah, is that something you were able to create for yourself over the course of the master, perhaps during interventions?
Actually, no. The only way I created it for myself was doing the internship within the Dutch army. That's how I got into the military performance psychology. But in the masters itself, or I forgot it. but for what I can remember, no, there wasn't something in the master that made me develop that part.
Right. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and is it now different because you are doing the masters now? Do they have something like that?
I think, for instance, in the interventions course, I remember giving presentations, which my solo presentation was focused on music students and doing imagery with them. But I also remember a couple of other students doing their presentations on the more business side of things.
Yeah.
I think that was definitely a way for people to show their own interest. But yeah, I can see what you mean with the literature is set in stone, and of course you can
Yes.
do your own research outside of that. For instance, the written assignments in the essentials and New Horizons courses. I do remember being given multiple topics, and then one focused, for instance, on football, one on ballet, and actually, I managed to do all my assignments because I like music.
Yeah.
I managed to do most of my assignments around either dance or music in those areas. But I can definitely see what you mean, that there is perhaps a lack of focus on the extreme jobs.
Yes, I think so, and I agree with what you're saying because you could also sometimes look for your own topics or give presentations or workshop in your own topics. But most of the time, there were already head topics, and you could choose a subtopic of your own interest of those head topics. So then it's already in some kind of direction, and then you can choose between that topic. But then it's difficult to do it completely your own way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can see that. But then in your internship, as you said, you were able to
Yes.
to look for that. So, I mean, I do remember for a couple of my fellow students, it was very hard for them to find the right internship spots.
Yeah.
How did that searching process go for you?
Yeah, actually quite easy. I was just looking on LinkedIn and I saw this new topic because that's maybe in the defense of the master. Military performance psychology is a new topic. It only exists since 2020 in the Netherlands. In other countries, it's already known for longer, but in the Netherlands only since 2020. So that in defense of the master.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just looking on LinkedIn what's interesting and what's in the direction of the high risk jobs. And then I saw this on LinkedIn. It was a page called, in Dutch, Militaire Prestatiepsychologie.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, I want that. I'm interested. Who are the contact persons? So I found two names, Wim Keizer and Bart Bogaars. And Bart Bogaars seemed easy to reach out to. So I just sent him a message on LinkedIn to have a virtual meeting. And he said yes. And then the ball started rolling.
yeah, because from there you still have to develop your internship plan, get it approved.
Yeah.
Or most likely send it in, get it returned, revise some stuff, and then send it in again.
Yeah. So that's when the difficult part started. And I think it was also difficult because it is a new topic and there's not much literature on military performance psychology yet. It's now developing, but the UvA asks for a lot of literature and science-based evidence, which I understand. But it's a new topic. It's a new field. So it was sometimes kind of difficult for me to switch in those directions of being in the internship and doing practical things, and also making sure my assignments of the UvA were correct and scientific based.
Yeah, can you maybe elaborate a bit on what were your experiences during the internship? What kind of activities did you have to do?
Good question. My head assignment was now I have to think very good. Think back. I was looking into the effects of the heat on military personnel and performing, because sometimes maybe you can imagine they have to operate in very heat environments, as in Afghanistan, for example. And then still you have to perform. But how do you perform when it's so hot, when the temperatures are so high outside? And how do you perform at your best with such circumstances? So I dove into that topic. That's what I did on the other side. on one side, and on the other side, I did some trainings, workshops. I developed together with my with Wim Keijs and Bart Bogaars. We developed training. We made sure the lessons of military performance psychology get into the courses of the new military employees. So we were actually building up that field of military performance psychology in the beginning of my internship, which already went quite well, and what I really enjoyed. Just being in front of a group of military people and just training them on the mental aspect of performing and diving further into, okay, what's necessary for you to perform at your maximum capability?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems really awesome that you were almost like a front runner in developing this program at the Netherlands Army.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, do you think the classes and the skills you gained from the masters prepared you decently for the internship?
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. Most of the skills that we had in the masters were actually also the skills that the military personnel need, or what they want and what they want to excel in. So yeah.
What kind of skills were these?
Mostly goal setting, visualization, self-talk, arousal regulation, just the regular skills, actually. Yeah, and they were all very much into that. So, and they still are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, though, because I think you're then starting with a target audience who is basically, would you say that they're maybe at the beginning of their sports psychological or performance psychological journey where they don't have a lot of knowledge about this stuff?
What do you mean?
Like what kind of, what level of expertise do they have before they start with the training from the army?
Good question. It depends. When you have the new civilian people who start their military career, most of them don't have much knowledge about this, about sport and performance psychology and goal setting and arousal regulation or self-talk or imagery. No, they don't know, but they want to know everything and they want to learn it and to want to excel at it. But when you have the experienced military personnel, most of them have known some of the things. Most of them already have done some of the things. Most of them have seen other people do it. So they already know some things, but they also know it unconscious. They did it, but they didn't know why or how. And we just tell them why it's good and what they're exactly doing and what it's good for. So we just brought it up. You're doing this and it's good, but it's good because of this and this and this. And you should do it more, for example, in this and this situation. So we just brought it up more for them to train it even better and become even better at it, and that it could help in some certain situations even more.
Yeah, so the level of knowledge can be either basically zero from those who are just starting to those who maybe pick some things up along the way but don't know why it's working.
Exactly. Yeah.
And circling back to your internship, because, spoiler, you managed to stay at your internship job.
Yes.
In the internship itself, I've heard from other students that it can come with a pretty steep learning curve as you're going from an academic world to a, real practicing world.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you faced in the internship?
There were a lot of challenges I faced during the internship. On the other side, it was writing a scientific-based article, and on the other hand, being practical, being a practitioner in the field. And I think my excellence is being a practitioner and doing classes, doing workshops, just being active with the personnel. While on the other hand, I had to do my assignments, and therefore I had to be behind my computer
Yeah.
And I don't like being behind my computer. I'm not a researcher, and no, that's not my area of expertise. So I think that was my my main challenge.
And is that also then having to switch back and forth between
Yeah.
being more distant from them and asking them, for instance, in questionnaires or interviews, how do you perform in the heat and what challenge do you face and how do you regulate that, and searching the literature for that, and then perhaps even on the same day switching back into being in front of the class and doing the things you.
Those were never the same people. That was
Okay.
no. The people I trained or I gave the lessons to were never the same people I involved in my assignment, and I did it on purpose because you will know how they react. Okay, so you're a researcher and you're also a trainer. So what are you?
Right. So the role clarity of basically
Exactly.
separating that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you manage to overcome this challenge of, having to switch back and forth between academic and practitioner?
Yeah. For the master was okay. I did it for 5 months. I think the internship I did 5 months. And I knew, okay, there would come an end to this scientific assignment.
So that kept you going.
Yes. There will come an end to everything. And when I end this, I can be a practitioner in the field. So that was my motivation.
Yeah.
If we talk about motivation and goal setting.
Sometimes, you have to just rely on that to keep you going.
Yeah, exactly.
And then as you, wrapped up your internship, I don't know, when did you do your thesis in between this?
No, at the same time. The second 6 months or 5 months, 4 months, 5 months, I think, of the master's track, I combined my internship and my thesis.
And how did that go for you?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Blood, sweat, tears, everything all along the way. It was just in my head. I wanted to finish the master's track in 1 year because they sell the masters as it's possible in 1 year.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, do this for 1 year and you're done. Then you don't have to go back into college anymore. You won't have to write any more scientific assignments anymore. You're done and you can just do your work and be a practitioner. But it was, for me, hard. Yeah, really. I cried sometimes. Oh, how am I going to do this all together? The internship and the thesis, and it's much. So how did it go? Well, I wouldn't recommend doing those two at the same time.
I mean, it's something they say in the thesis information session as well as the internship information session, but I feel it's often just limited by practicality of, for instance, you did your internship for, was it 5 months?
Yes.
I think was it limited by just available time at the internship?
No, I did it for 3 days a week, my internship at the time. And then I was calculating, so I have 2 more days for my thesis.
Yeah.
And then in the weekend I can work. But that's crazy. Then you will be busy all the time. And it's not a unhealthy lifestyle like that.
So what made you make that decision then at the time? What was the rationale behind it?
Yeah, just work hard pays off. I don't know. Just do it and just going.
But I guess looking back, you would have split those up.
Yes, and if I could recommend students who are going to do this master, I would also say split up. Or even better, I would recommend the people who make the master track to make this master's 1.5 year.
Yeah.
And then maybe do one more course or give some more about the performance psychology side and more practitioner side and less scientific based side, because of course the scientific side is important, but we know that our work has to be scientifically based. So we do that, but how do we implement that into training? I think that's the crucial part.
Yeah, and I've definitely heard the same feeling from other students of, oh man, I just wish this master was 1.5 year, 2 years long.
Yeah.
And I also agree with that point of the practical side. If you're doing, for instance, like cognitive psychology or neuropsychology, I can definitely imagine that the research part is definitely a high priority. But so much of the work that sports psychologists do is practical work. I mean, so many people are either self-employed or working in the field.
Yeah, translating it into practition. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you see that coming back in the master? Is it like a longer interventions course or?
Maybe, you also do the internship, of course. And of course, there's the ISPP.
Yeah. The Post-Master.
Yes, the Post-Master. And I think that they do what I'm asking for in the master.
Yeah.
But it's expensive and not every student can afford that, which I totally understand. So they have it, but it's, therefore you have to do another course. So, I'm not sure. So maybe just elaborate the master or do the Post-Master.
Yeah.
I think those are the options you have.
Yeah, because then at the end of your master's, that 1 year you wanted to cram everything into, what were your thoughts back then of you're now done? Was it already clear that you were going to do just to stay at the army, or were you maybe considering this Postmaster?
Actually, it was very soon very clear that I would stay at the Dutch army because Wim Keizer, I would say my boss, but he doesn't.
Then supervisor.
Supervisor, yes. Supervisor, mentor is also a nice word. He doesn't like the word boss, so I should say supervisor. We clicked and he saw something in me and he thought I was doing a great job. So it was very soon, very clear I would stay at the Dutch army. So I wasn't looking into the Postmaster yet because I would know, okay, I'm having a job after my master's. And I also have the swimming school. So for now, I'm okay. And I was done studying, so no more for me. But still, of course, it's an interesting track, I think, the Postmaster. And also, then you are an geaccrediteerde, I don't know how you say that in English.
Accredited sports psychologist, recognized by the VSBN or ISPP.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that is a nice name behind your name. I understand the value, but there are a lot of sports and performance psychologists who are successful who did not do the Postmaster. So, yeah.
How do you currently look at it as now being 2 years in the field?
Yes.
Do you look at it differently?
No, actually not. For now, I'm still okay and I'm not considering doing the Postmaster. But I would not say that will stay. Maybe at some point I see the value or I want to be that recognized sport psychologist. But for now, I'm just doing my job and it goes kind of well. So for me, it's okay right now.
Yeah, I can definitely understand. Actually, there is one of my the students from my year who was the first in the now, I think, 10 plus years that this program existed, that she went straight from the master to the Postmaster.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So apparently no one else has done that step directly before.
No. I can imagine because I don't know how much it is precisely, but
something around 18,000.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot to cough up and then also directly move on, you know.
Yes.
You have to start in September and then be also developing your own clientele. I think that's a major challenge as well.
Yeah. And 2.5 years, I think, is the Postmaster. So, yeah.
It's definitely a commitment.
Wow. How is she doing? Does she like the track?
I'm not sure yet because, I mean, it's been a while since we talked, but I suppose she, just as me, started, this September again.
Yeah. So she just started, yeah.
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 But yeah, I'll definitely try to catch up with her because, it's a very interesting, well, not division, but, it's as you said, it's something behind your name. You're being recognized.
Yeah.
And I do think that you learn a lot of valuable skills in those 2.5 years.
Yeah, I agree. But as I said, there are some successful who did not do the postmaster. And on the other hand, there are also a lot of people, or sports psychologists and performance psychologists, who did do the postmaster, but who are not successful in the field. So it isn't a guarantee that you will excel in your field.
Yeah. And then circling back to where you ended up in the army again, because you were able to stay there. What was the process of transitioning from an intern to now an employee like?
Weird. Yeah, weird. I was like, okay, so everything has to be serious right now. I just kind of enjoyed being a student and everything was just vrijblijvend. Can you translate that maybe for me?
Carefree, nothing was very consequential about it.
You had not too much responsibilities yet because you're a student and you can still fuck up,
make mistakes.
Yeah, but when once you have a real grown-up job, you feel like, okay, so now I'm a performance psychologist and now I have to perform as well. So that was weird, but you kind of just go with the flow and everything you learned just excels automatically, actually. So, it went quite natural. So nothing I was afraid of happened, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it was weird in the beginning. Yeah.
But you then also, you say that everything you prepared for elevated and you were managed to function, to perform.
Yes.
Does that mean you think the skills that you learned and the knowledge that you gained in the master track really prepared you for the field?
Yes. And also that together with having someone who believes in you. So a supervisor or a mentor, for me, that was Wim Keizer, as I told before. I think having someone on your side who sees you and helps you develop yourself further as a practitioner, I think that's crucial at the start of your career. And not having to do everything alone. And sometimes when you need help or advice, you can ask your supervisor or mentor, hey, can you look with me? How would you do this? What do you think of this? Just sparring together.
Yeah. I definitely think that a network is very important.
Yeah.
I think if you start your own practice after you're done with the master, it can be somewhat isolating maybe. If you start your own practice, you try to do everything by yourself, I'm sure you can have a lot of doubts if you're doing the right thing.
Yes, and maybe also overwhelming when you have to do everything alone and you start as a sport psychologist and where do I start? And then you have your first client and then you're like, oh gosh. And when you have a mentor, say it like that, you have some sort of backup and someone who stands by your side and helps you develop yourself further as a practitioner, because it isn't done when you ended your master track. I think it starts when you ended your master track.
Yeah. And then how did you see your confidence grow with Wim at your side as a mentor over these past 2 years?
In the beginning, we did a lot together, and sometimes he said, Ashley, you can do this, you pick up this assignment, or Ashley, you can do it, you pick up this presentation or workshop, and I do it. Then he sits beside, and he watches me, he gives me feedback. I work on that, I grow, do it again. And now I'm actually on the point where I can do some things completely by myself, and he doesn't go with me anymore. And he just says, this is something for you, this is something for me. Good luck, okay, bye. And we both do our own things.
Yeah, but now you're actually working together as equals, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. So in the beginning it was a lot of growing, improving, and having feedback. Of course, still, he gives me feedback, but I can also give feedback to him. So that's really cool, I think, now, that we see each other as equals. But that's not how it started, because I saw him as my mentor, as a person who helps me develop me as an practitioner. Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about, already your work now, but can you just give an overview of what a regular work week is? There a regular work week for you?
No.
Yeah.
But I can describe one work week, I think. I will try. At least once a month, or maybe even once a week, I have a training or workshop for military personnel. Maybe good to say I work 3 days a week for the army, because I also have the swimming, teaching stuff. So at least once a day I do that. We are also working on our products of the military performance psychology, because it's a new area in the Netherlands. It still has to be developed. So we are now making a certified document. It's called een doctrinepublicatie in Dutch. It is like a book from the army, which is certified by the army. And it's called Military Performance Psychology. And we are developing that at the moment. So that's also quite cool. So developing products, developing lessons, giving those lessons, but also implementing military performance psychology into the system of the Dutch army. So making sure that every military person who gets in the army gets those lessons once they're in. Just saying it like that.
Yeah, so that's still an ongoing process to get it army-wide, so to say.
Exactly, yeah. It's a really hard job. It's not something you do in one day. So implementing this into the army will take years. And I think we're still at the beginning. So it might even take, I'm not sure, maybe 10, 20. It's not more.
Yeah.
More years.
I mean, I can definitely imagine some, well, maybe not opposition, but resistance to change, perhaps. For my personal experience, I did an internship at the Conservatory of Amsterdam in my bachelor's.
Yeah.
And I was also involved in a course there where students learned about the sports psychological principles of how to learn, how to perform under pressure, how to deal with stage anxiety. And I know from my experiences back then, my supervisor, he tried before to implement those teachings from sports psychology into the whole of the conservatory, but you know, sometimes teachers have their own ways that they know from their own past, are resistant to change.
They don't like change,
yeah. That's also, I guess, something that you saw or see in the military.
Yes, definitely. We have some resistance indeed into change, because we did that. We did it like this for always. When I was young, we did it this way. Why does it have to change? Because there's literature that says it's better, but that doesn't work for them. So we have to find a way to convince them and letting them see that it's only for their own good, for their own performance. But that won't work with just showing them numbers and scientific-based articles. And no, they have to see it in practice. So we mostly try it with movies from other countries who are doing it and where it helps, doing exercises, being in the field, and then working with a mental skill set and proving them that it works and that they perform better. That's how you deal with resistance, I think, but not just showing them, hey, it works. This article says it works. No, that's not.
I think that's the case with everyone. If you're trying to convince them, you have to come at them from their side, to speak their language almost, to convince them. I think that's always most important, to not see yourself as a starting point, and because you know that it works. You've read the paper. You've seen it work in other countries. But it's definitely important to translate that to a more practical set. From science to practice, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes they also see psychology as something for pussies.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard,
Soft
hard to say.
people.
Yeah, but that's definitely still a sentiment that's around.
Yeah, and in the military before, everything what was mental, they even called it soft skills. Because it's not the direct hard skills you learn during your study. No, it's soft skills. They are not so important.
Yeah.
So it's already in the name. No, those are not soft skills. Those are necessary skills to perform at your best.
Yeah.
So that's also a change in language and a change in seeing it, change in thinking, which we are improving now, but not everyone is on that page yet. But it's getting better. Yeah.
And then as someone who is involved in a larger organization, I mean, I said it before that a good amount, I think at least, of sports psychologists are self-employed or work as someone that's hired by a company and then still being outside of it.
Yeah.
How do you think that shapes your role as a sports psychologist in this larger organization as opposed to being self-employed?
Yeah, I actually like it because there are not much sports psychologists in the army. I am, besides Wim Keizer, the only one. You also have the Koninklijke Marechaussee.
Yeah.
That's
the
Dutch.
The National Guardsmen or police, I suppose.
Yeah, the military police.
Military police,
that's how you call it in English. Yannick Balk works there.
One of our former teachers.
Exactly, yeah. So he's a sport psychologist for the Dutch military police. So that's another department in the Dutch defense. But besides those two, there are no sport psychologists working in this field, which is actually quite weird because it's, I think, so important and it's going to be important. So I think it will be more within the coming 10 years. So if you are listening to this, keep an eye on.
You're still searching for someone?
Not at the moment, but if we keep doing our work good, I think, and if the army sees the necessary of this field, I think we will need more people within 5 years or even less, I hope.
Yeah. But you do say that you find it nice while working with these few people, I suppose, in a larger organization.
Yeah.
What do you find nice about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's, but actually it is nice because I know now everyone who is active in the field. But when our field will grow within the Dutch army, I think that's actually better. So maybe I correct myself a little bit. Yes, it's nice because I know everything and I know what everyone is doing. But I think the field needs to grow. So yeah, we have to expand, and I hope within a few years there will be more performance psychologists working within the army.
Yeah. You work as well as a swimming teacher and the co-owner of a swimming school.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on how that came about?
Yes, of course. Actually, my father started a swimming school this year, 20 years ago. He had his own ideas of how we should teach swimming to children, because it's for the start of teaching children how to swim. In Dutch, we have the A diploma and B diploma and C diploma. I don't know how that is in other countries, actually, but
don't know.
That's how it works in the Netherlands. So he developed a way, his own way of thinking of teaching children how to swim. It was 20 years ago, and within those years, he said to me, Ashley, I think you would like this as well, because I always liked children and being around children and just playing with them and having a fun time. He said, just come and maybe you would like giving swimming lessons as well. So I went, and that was 14 years ago. And ever since, I never left. Every week I was in the swimming pool and I was giving swimming lessons to children. And at some point, my father said, you should get certified. And when I go on retirement, maybe you could take over the business.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, maybe I should do that. So, yes, I got certified. And now I'm doing this together with my father, my sister, and me. So we are now the three at the top of our business. And we also got some personnel. I think in total we are now with 11 people.
Not bad.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it went, I think. And now my father almost goes on retirement next year, I think. And then it's just my sister and me who are going to run the business, of course, together with our personnel.
Yeah. And how do you look at it when you have 3 days? You have 3 days in the Dutch army where you
Yes,
work,
yeah.
and then I suppose 2 days in the swimming school.
Yes, yeah, 1.5 actually in the water, 1.5 day, and like 1.5 day doing just management things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how does that switch for you? The different roles you play.
I love it because I wouldn't see myself 5 days at the kazerne, but I also wouldn't see myself 5 days into the swimming pool. And I love, for example, the Wednesdays are for me perfect because Wednesday morning I am in Utrecht on the Kromhoutkazerne, and in the afternoon I am in the swimming pool doing the first lessons for children who start swimming lessons. And I really love that day because in one day I have everything I love and I have a balance of my working day and not every day, every time the same riddle again.
Yeah. But can you still, are you able to apply some of your sports psychology skills
Yes.
in the swimming?
Yes, definitely. Mostly for the children who are a bit anxious or who have not so much self-confidence. For them, I do a lot. But also the children who have some capabilities or who have a disorder or but also of motivation, working with parents.
Yes.
Parents in the swimming pool is also a whole topic we could have a whole podcast about, I think. Because that's also hard, and we also learn about that, how to deal with parents, sport parents in the master's track.
Yes.
Also learn about that. So yeah, all those things I can definitely apply in the swimming pool as well. And we are now writing our own handbook of zwemschoolmidden. So hey, that's how we call it.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to write one topic or one part about sport psychology in that handbook as well, because it's just part of the sport of swimming just as much it's part of every other sport.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that sports psychology can have this focus on elite athletes.
Yes.
But then how it's very much still applicable at the grade level of children just picking up swimming.
Yeah. It actually is. I don't remember anything of children who start swimming having that in the master's track.
I don't think so. No.
No.
I mean, often it's more focused on parents at the sidelines or on football. But every parent can have an outburst of this is right for my child.
Yes. Yeah. Parents on the side of the football line. That's so standard, I think. And right now there are so many sports and so many applications. It's much more than just on the side of the soccer line, I think. So yeah, it's also the same in the swimming pool. Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Ooh, tricky question.
Yeah.
It depends. Sometimes parents know better how to deal with their child than they think the swimming teacher knows. And of course, in some way they do because they have known their child more and longer than we do. But I always think when it comes to swimming, you should leave it to us and you should trust us in our opinion. So I'll just try to play it that way and keep them a bit on the side. Because before we always had parents sitting on the side in the swimming pool. So they could just say things to their children. They could say things to us, to the swimming teachers. They could involve in the lesson. They could say us what we had to do. And after Corona, thank God, or Corona was there, or COVID, we couldn't have parents into the swimming pool anymore.
Yeah.
And after that, we stayed like that. The parents were not invited into the swimming pool anymore because there was.
It just worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Having no parents around. The children were easygoing, and there was such calms into the swimming pool. They were crying less. It's crazy how that works when the parents are not around.
So you don't have to deal with that anymore.
No. Once in the 3 months we have kijkdag in Dutch.
Oh yeah, so where the parents can come look. Yeah.
At how their children developed in swimming. So we should do that once in 3 months because, of course, the parents should also see, are they improving in swimming or not? So once in 3 months we have a day like that, but that's okay. And then it's also actually quite a fun because most of parents are just nice and they are very happy about the swimming process and they are making photos and videos and they're like, oh, that's so nice. But when they are there every week, every lesson, they get too involved and it won't improve the lesson. So I think that's a good way to not have them invited every week.
Yeah. I think that gives a very nice picture of what you're involved with as a sports psychologist or performance psychologist, I should say.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up a bit, what do you think is next for you? Because you described that you are working on a manual for the army. You see that there's potential to expand, but then also your father is retiring in a year.
Yeah.
What is next for you?
Oh yeah, that's also a topic I'm thinking of myself at the moment. I don't know. Actually, I really don't know because I really love working in the swimming pool. I think that's one thing I will keep doing for sure. But my work isn't done yet at the army as well. So I think I would love to stay and keep doing those both things. Just being a swimming teacher and being a military performance psychologist and doing those.
Keep combining those two for you.
Yeah. I think I want that at least for now, but it's also something I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Nice. So just to close off then, this is Masters in Performance, a podcast made for current and future students mostly. Also, for people who have finished their studies and just interested in others. But with your experiences so far in the field as well as during the master, do you have any advice for current students?
Don't do the masters in 1 year. No, kidding. If you are very ambitious and you are an easy learner or an easy writer for mostly, no, I'm saying it wrong because the first half year was okay. Just doing the courses in a half year, I think that's okay. But the second year when you have to do the thesis and the internship, for me that was too hard. But when you are a good scientific writer, when you have the time of the world, when you don't have to work, then maybe you can do it. But for me,
give yourself some breathing space.
Yes, and also some free time and do nice things in the weekend. Don't forget about your friends. I would say that. I think that's my main advice I would give to students. Yeah.
And do you know of anything for moving beyond the master? Looking out for opportunities?
Yeah, finding a mentor. Yeah, definitely. Find someone who believes in you and who sees in you a good sports and performance psychologist and who you can develop with. Someone who helps you get even better practitioner. That's what worked for me.
Yeah, great advice. So finally, just to wrap up, if people are listening and they are interested in what you're doing, you're talking about expanding the army, the sports psychology army.
Yeah.
Where could people find you if they're interested in what you do?
I think the easiest way is LinkedIn. Just search for Ashley Oomen and you will find me on LinkedIn.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was an interesting conversation. Yeah, I really liked it.
Well, everyone, I really enjoyed that first episode. Ashley's advice of keeping an eye on yourself during the master really resonated with me. I was especially surprised with her insights on the opportunities in the growing field of performance psychology in the Army, as well as on finding a mentor for yourself after graduating. A big thank you to her for her time and insights. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave a review and to subscribe. Do let me know what insights you are interested in hearing so you can help shape the future of this podcast and a guest that appear on it. You can find me on Instagram at Masters in Performance, or you can get in touch via LinkedIn by searching for Roel Bakker and Sports Psychology. Also, a big thank you to you for tuning in. Please join me for the next episode of Masters in Performance. I'll see you then.